6 or 7 running backs with over 100 yards on the ground, several game-changing performances, and the Cleveland Browns are still in the playoff race. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. And so many important, huge games coming up this week. Welcome to Week 16 of the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Rosen. I'm coming to you live from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. And I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season. I know we're all going to be celebrating on Tuesday with all the gifts underneath the tree. And believe me, the NFL has given us plenty of gifts these last couple of weeks. And we're going to cipher through all those gifts, all the mistletoe, all the bells, whistles, everything that you love about this holiday season, and then some. All right, before we get into all the NFL news, let's get into the playoff picture. After Week 15 already, let's start with the AFC side of things. The number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs. They already clinched the playoff spot, but they haven't clinched their division, the AFC West, yet. They're tied at 11-3 with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers last Thursday came back from being down 28-14, scored 15 consecutive points, including the game-winning 2-point conversion. Therefore, the Chargers defeated the Chiefs 29-28, and the Chiefs and Chargers are tied at 11-3. But the Chiefs have the tiebreaker with the better divisional record than the Chargers. And so the Chiefs still have the number 1 overall seed in the AFC for the time being. At number 2, you have the Houston Texans at 10-4 in the AFC South. They have a 2-game lead over the Colts and Titans. They just need a victory this week and a Colts and Titans loss to clinch their division. Now the Patriots are the number 3 seed. They still lead the AFC East by 2 games over the Dolphins at 9-5. They've lost 2 straight games. This is the time where they really need. They got to clinch this division and take care of it this week against Buffalo. After all, Tom Brady has a ridiculous record over Buffalo. He should be able to take care of business this week. If he doesn't, then there's a possibility, a small possibility, the Dolphins could climb back in and clinch the division for the first time since 2008. Now the Steelers, 8-5-1, holding a tenuous half-game lead in the AFC North over the Baltimore Ravens at 8-5-1. Of course, the one being the tie from Week 1, 21-all with the Cleveland Browns. They definitely need to. Yeah, they came up with a big victory at home against the New England Patriots, 17-10, which was one of the rare victories that Roethlisberger has over Brady. Now, in the 2 wild card slots, at the number 5, wild card number 1, the Los Angeles Chargers at 11-3. Like the Chiefs clinched the playoff spot with that victory last week. Now they have a chance at leaping from 5-1 and getting what they need to what needs to happen for the Chargers. They have to win their remaining 2 games, starting this week with the Ravens, and they need the Chiefs to lose one of their final 2 games left in the season, especially the Sunday night game that the Chiefs have with the Seahawks. If that happens, the Chargers can clinch the division and the AFC West, and the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. So basically, the AFC playoffs could go through a soccer stadium at Carson, California, where currently the Chargers play, 27,000 seats. In a few years, they'll be moving to their new stadium in Inglewood, along with the LA Rams. Now, the Baltimore Ravens hold on to the 6th and final spot, the 2nd wild card spot, at 8-6. The 4 teams in the hunt. The Colts at 8-6, the Titans at 8-6, the Dolphins at 7-7, and the Browns at 6-7-1. And the eliminated teams are the Bengals and the Broncos, both at 6-8. The Bengals missing their 3rd straight postseason appearance. I think it's time for a new change at head coach. Yeah, Marvin Lewis, I think his time is done. Finito. Please. New direction. Broncos are on the verge of possibly having their 2nd straight losing season since the 1970s. If that happens, Vance Joseph, start looking in the wanted section of the newspaper. Now the Bills at 5-9, losing season for the 16th time in the last 19 years, and 17 out of the last 18 years missing the postseason. Josh Allen can't do everything on the ground. They need to get a reliable running back for this guy. But Robert Foster has been an incredible find for them. I think we need to see more as a Jones and a better O-line, and because the defense has its good moments, but it's really the offense that has been pitiful that needs to be reworked in the offseason. The Jaguars at 4-10, losers of 9 out of their last 10. Doug Marrone, I don't think will even have a future after the season. And as for Tom Coughlin, I think Shad Khan will keep him around for another year to see if he can retool this team and get a better quarterback. That's where honestly things have gone terribly wrong for them. Blake Bortles is not the answer, and neither is Cody Kessler, who was a paltry 9 of 17 this past week for 57 yards in the game against the Redskins, 16 to 13. How do you do that? 9 of 17 for 57 yards for 4 quarters is astounding, and not in a good way. The Jets at 4-10. I was at the game last Saturday with my brother. How do you have a 22-19 lead and then give up 10 straight points in the last few minutes? 2 out of the last 3 games, they've gone into the fourth quarter with the lead and then find an inexplicable way of losing. Then the Raiders at 3-11, fighting for the number 1 overall draft pick with the Cardinals of Arizona. Please, boys, keep on losing, and the reward will come to them. And they got big rewards coming to them this year. Not only can they guarantee a number 1 overall pick, but they got 2 more picks in the first round. 3 altogether. That's going to be game-changing, but the Raiders still don't have a home, and they're being sued they have a federal lawsuit against them by the city of Oakland. And the NFL is being sued along with the Raiders. So, good luck. Oh, and they need a general manager too. That's more problems and litany of issues that they have to deal with. On the NFC side of things, the number 1 pick, the number 1 overall seed is New Orleans Saints at the moment at 12-2. They clinched the NFC South for a second consecutive year. They're looking to clinch a first-round bye in the number 1 overall seed. They have a chance to do that this week against the Steelers at home. The second seed is the Los Angeles Rams at 11-3, clinched the NFC West. They did this weeks ago. They were the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Now they're looking to at least keep their chances of a first-round bye intact. Otherwise, they could fall to number 3 if things don't go well in the next 2 weeks. And the team that could do that to them is the Chicago Bears. At 10-4, number 3, clinched the NFC North first time in 8 years. This was a team that finished the last 4 years in last place in the NFC North, and they've went from that to first. Matt Nagy needs to be named head coach of the year for the job he's done with the team. The general manager, Ryan Pace, did a great job in acquiring Khalil Mack. Yes, they gave up a first-round pick for him, but the juice was worth the squeeze. And the money is worth it as well because he's doing everything and then some. He's revolutionized that division with his presence and made it possible for other defenders to get some big hits, as we've seen from Akeem Hicks, Prince Amukamara. Everybody's improving on that defense. Even Eddie Jackson, who unfortunately is injured this week, will not be able to play, but he's been a part of that game changer too. And it's outstanding, the Bears defense this year, and the offense has improved with Tariq Cohen. I'm just so proud of Chicago and happy for the city that they have a competent, good football team for the first time in a long time. We're seeing great Bears football. Now, the Cowboys at number 4 couldn't clinch the division last week. They lost 23-0 to the Colts. They still can clinch the division this week with a victory over the Bucs. They're at 8-6. They have a 1-game lead over the Redskins and the Eagles at the moment. They can win this week, or with at least the loss by the Eagles or Redskins, they can clinch the division. Loss by the Redskins and the Eagles, then they can clinch the division. Otherwise, say the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose, that could make Week 17 very interesting for the NFC East. At number 5, you have the Seattle Seahawks, 8-6, the first wild card. That's the only thing they have a chance of clinching since the Rams already clinched the NFC West. They lost this past week in San Francisco to the team they destroyed 2 weeks ago, 43-16. I just don't understand how they were able to have that type of reverse, but nonetheless, they still have a chance to clinch the wild card slot with a victory on Sunday night at home against the Chiefs. while the Vikings at 7-6-1 are barely holding on to that number 6 seed. And the teams that are in the hunt are the Eagles and the Redskins at 7-7, and the barely holding on Panthers at 6-8. The Panthers started 6-2, have now lost 6 consecutive games, including Monday night with the Saints, are on the brink of elimination this coming week with the Falcons looming at home. They need to end the bleeding. They got to get a victory, just at least to keep Ron Rivera's job intact. Otherwise, new owner David Tepper is not going to be patient enough to wait for another year with Ron Rivera and the gambling, because after all, they do call him Riverboat Ron. And the Redskins and Eagles, the Skins have gone through 4 quarterbacks, including Josh Johnson, who had his first start since 2011. And the Eagles right now with a monumental victory on Sunday night in L.A. And what was really eerie about it was nearly a year to the date when Carson Wentz went down with that terrible ACL injury and Nick Foles came in and won the Super Bowl from that week on. And now the same scenario. This time, though, Wentz didn't even play in L.A. He was already hurt with a back injury, and Foles came in and was able to lead the Eagles to victory. So are we seeing potentially another Cinderella run? The underdog story again, with all the dog masks. Well, we'll see what happens. Teams eliminate the Packers at 5-8-1, second consecutive year after 8 straight years of making the postseason. If they're going to get a coach to replace Mike McCarthy, because I know Joe Philbin is not going to be the regular coach next year, I would definitely take a look at, possibly Josh McDaniels. I know the same guy who turned down the Colts job, I think could be perfect for the Packers. Just saying, just a name floating out there. Or Franklin, the coach from Penn State. Jim Moore could be another name to pop out somehow. He was with the Lions at one point. Maybe he'll return back to the NFC North with their rivals, the Packers. The Buccaneers at 5-9, and the Falcons 5-9. The Giants and the Lions all 5-9 teams. The Buccaneers, Dirk Cutter is done. I think he is finito. Falcons, Sarkisian, they're going to look for a new offensive coordinator, and the defense, with the injuries that riddled them in the beginning of the year, that's what led to them, to the season that they had. The Giants, commendable for the fact they started 1-7 and then won 4 at their first 5 after the bye week, but unfortunately were shut out against the Titans. They needed that victory at least to keep their slim chances alive. But now they'll be going to the offseason with a lot of things to have to look at, including an O-line, because they got to build around Saquon Barkley. He is the franchise. He's the future. And they are shutting down OBJ, which is a smart move considering the amount of money they invested in him in the offseason. The Lions right now, Matt Patricia, in his first year, he's going to be evaluating what went wrong with this year. I think we can spot some of the scenarios, some of the decisions they made in the fourth quarter, the turnovers that took place, the amount of sacks the O-line allowed on Matthew Stafford. I could go on and on. There were a litany of issues that have to be reworked, and especially the O-line needs to be reworked, and the defensive front too as well. The pass rushing must get better, especially with Matt Patricia, who was a defensive wizard with the Patriots. This will be a new feeling for Patricia, though. He's used to being in the Super Bowl the last few years, going deep into January. Now he's going to wonder what it's like to not have to do anything in January or February. Well, may I suggest golf, backgammon, board games, maybe going to Disney World with your family? I don't know. Just some suggestions out there. I know it's not funny and all that. Believe me, you would rather be in the postseason right now, but take some time, relax, enjoy some time off, then get back to work in the drawing board of how the Lions can turn around and finally get a division title since 1993. The Niners, the 49ers, 4-10. When you lost your top running back in the beginning, before the season began, Jerick McKinnon, ACL injury, Jimmy Garoppolo, your main quarterback that you spent $137.5 million, ACL tear week 3, 3 quarterbacks, of course, including Garoppolo, then C.J. Beathard, then Nick Mullins. None worked out. Mullins for a little bit, but then again, that one game that impressive game was against the Oakland Raiders. Then you have the Cardinals at 3-11. Fighting for the number 1 overall seed. Sam Bradford came in for a bit, had a cup of coffee, sat down, gave it over to Josh Rosen, no relation. And the kid has some skills, but he also has a bad habit of turning the ball over. I remember, again, even against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football, before the first half even ended, 2 really massive pick sixes in that game. Well, now the Cardinals are fighting for the number 1 seed. Steve Keim, give the other Steve, that's Wilks, the head coach, another chance. And that's your NFL playoff picture. We'll have one more next week, and we'll go into the scenarios heading into the final week of the season. So we're going to do that next week on the Blitz Zone for the New Year's Eve edition. So some of the news that took place. Josh Gordon, the receiver, well, now ex-wide receiver of the New England Patriots, has been indefinitely suspended again for violating the condition of his last suspension for substance abuse violations. Before the NFL laid the hammer down on Josh Gordon. I'm sorry if I'm mixing up my words here because I'm speaking a little fast. Anyway, before the NFL laid the hammer down on Josh Gordon announced earlier this week that he was leaving the organization for mental health reasons, but he failed to let people know that the NFL was about to suspend him. But at least he's trying to get better. He's trying to better himself and trying to improve his life, which is commendable. It is. I'm not knocking that down at all. I think more people, if they are feeling like something is mentally straining you, if something is affecting your life in a negative way and you can't get the advice that you need sometimes from your family and friends, you need to seek help. What, be it a psychologist, psychiatrist, whether it be one of those hotlines or organizations that have professional psychologists on call. Just, do yourself a favor. If you're in that situation, seek that help and do something for yourself to turn your life around. It's the best thing you can do, and I commend Josh Gordon in terms of that. But the fact is, too, what I don't like is that he is sort of, yet again, he's letting go of another opportunity to be in the National Football League again with this. And it really kills him because the guy is talented. In fact, he had a resurgence under the Patriots. He had 7 touchdowns, over 760 receiving yards on the year. He was doing great. It looked like his career was turning around. Now this happens. It's really a sad day. I do sincerely wish Josh Gordon all the best, and I hope things turn around for him in his life. Even if he doesn't play again, I just hope for his mental health that things turn around for him and that he's able to lead a positive life and not have any of the negativity that has been affecting him or any of the situations that have been affecting him rear its ugly head again. I hope that is all gone and that things will turn around for him. Who knows? Maybe he'll be a broadcaster for the National Football League or on any of the networks that the NFL plays their games on, or for the XFL. Maybe he'll play there. Maybe he'll be given yet another chance. You never know. Speaking of the XFL, they already announced their 8 destinations, including the New York, New Jersey area at MetLife Stadium, where they're going to be having a team there. St. Louis was the first to officially announce the day before the other teams were announced. And Oliver Luck's, and if that name sounds familiar to you, he is the father of Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback Andrew Luck. He's going to be the commissioner of the league. And, of course, Vince McMahon is the one who's fronting all the cash for the league. After all, he sold about over $100 million of WWE stock to get this league up and running. He's going to be controlling all 8 teams. The rules are going to be simplified, especially in between plays. There are going to be no political messages will be allowed with these teams. So a lot of things are going to be different with the XFL than what you see with the NFL. Honestly, I'm a little skeptical considering what happened 17 years ago in the one and only season that the XFL had with the LA team that won, and it was just an utter disaster, and it was mismanaged. Hopefully this time that history is not doomed to repeat itself, but something tells me I think it will doomed to repeat itself. I think so, but you never know. I could always be wrong. All right. Now let's recap the week that was week 15 in the National Football League season of 2018. Starting in Cincinnati, the Queen City, the Bengals, losers of 5 straight games, going up against the Oakland Raiders, coming off of a huge victory at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Mixon, the only good thing about this Bengals offense, now that Andy Dalton, done for the year with a thumb injury, A.J. Green, done with a leg injury this year, and Tyler Boyd, another injury right there, or Eifert, he was also hurt this year too. But Joe Mixon, 129 yards on 27 carries and a big touchdown in the day, including the game-sealing 15-yard with 4:04 left. And they won 30-16 over the Raiders. The only good thing about the Raiders in this game was the fact that Derek Carr, in 9 straight games, has not thrown a pick. In fact, he broke the all-time franchise record for most attempts without an interception. And the record was previously held by Rich Gannon, who had 277 in 2001. 17 years it took to break that record for the Raiders. So congratulations there to Derek Carr on that one. I was about to say David, his brother, who, of course, played for the Houston Texans in their inaugural 2002 season. The Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills. The Bills, of course, 2 consecutive losses in which they've had the game in their hands and found a way to lose somehow against 2 of their division rivals, especially last week, against the New York Jets, which they should have won that game. Well, anyway, the Bills come up with a big game-changing play, 4th and 1. Josh Allen with a 2-yard leap on the 4th and 1 with 1:47 to go to seal at the Lions 41. But before that, the go-ahead touchdown was Robert Foster's 42-yard with 10:26 to go. That gave the Bills their 14-13 victory, thus eliminating the Detroit Lions from playoff contention, despite Detroit opening up the game with a 4-yard touchdown pass from Stafford to Andy Jones. Now, the next game right here, Cardinals, Falcons, Arizona Cardinals. Yet another game in which they start off with a lead, including starting off with a 7-0 lead with David Johnson on 2 long passes. Short touchdown run made it 7-0. They give up 40 unanswered points, including the Deion Jones pick 6 in the game, and the 22-yard touchdown leaping pass touchdown catch by Julio Jones, acrobatic by the way, on a bump and run in coverage that Patrick Peterson couldn't stop. Falcons beat the Cardinals 40-14. Redskins, Jaguars. Josh Johnson, first start in 7 years. Never won a career start at all going into this game in his previous 5 games. So game number 6, and finally he gets his first professional NFL victory, leading 2 big touchdown drives in the fourth quarter, or scoring drives in the fourth quarter, including the game-winning, helping set up the game-winning 36-yard field goal by Dustin Hopkins on the final play of the game. Redskins beat the Jaguars 16-13, as I mentioned earlier. Pathetic Cody Kessler, 9-17, 57 yards. Leonard Fournette did nothing. Oh, and by the way, the offensive line for the Jaguars, you should all be ashamed for allowing 6 sacks. The Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, Saturday Night Football. We're at that point in the season for Saturday night games. Both teams need a victory to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. The other would be eliminated. Well, it was the Denver Broncos. That's right. For the first time since 1990, the Cleveland Browns defeated the Denver Broncos after 11 consecutive losses in this series, including the game-winning 2-yard touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield to Antonio Callaway with under 12 minutes to go. The Browns beat the Broncos 17-16. Despite the fact that the Broncos, what really killed me in this game, the 13-play drive, 3rd and 1, Philip Lindsay goes for it, no gain at the Cleveland 6. Instead of Vance Joseph going for it on 4th down, he decides to go for a field goal, which confounded every person on the team. Why did you not go for it, Vance? Why? You had nothing to lose at this point. You know what? Go for it. Take a gamble. You could have prolonged the drive, and who knows, maybe Philip Lindsay would have scored a touchdown. By the way, congratulations, Philip Lindsay, the first undrafted rookie to make it to the Pro Bowl. He's just 6 yards shy of 1,000 yards in the season. You are an inspirational story and probably the future of the running back core for Denver. Vance Joseph, your future is sort of uncertain with these last 2 weeks. If the Broncos lose, it'll be the first time, I believe, since 1975 and 74 in which the Broncos had 2 consecutive losing seasons. Dolphins, Vikings. Last week, the Dolphins had the Miami Miracle beating the Patriots 34-33 on that long 69-yard touchdown play, concluding with the Kenyon Drake 32-yard run up the middle or down the right sideline. Now, this time, they needed a miracle themselves, but unfortunately, the miracles were kind of short in this game for them, including in the first half. They were down, 21-17 in the beginning of the second half, especially Kalen Ballage, who came up with a 75-yard run, now replacing this time around Frank Gore, who unfortunately is done for the rest of the season. First time in 125 games that he will not be starting this coming Sunday. Unbelievable that he was able to play that many games in a row for the 49ers, the Colts, and the Dolphins. Unfortunately, the streak ends this week. But Ballage will be the starter this week. But unfortunately, the Dolphins, the next 5 possessions in the second half, minus 27 on 16 plays. They end up losing 41-17 to the Vikings. Kirk Cousins throwing touchdown passes to Stephon Diggs, Aldrick Robinson, even despite the early pick six that Minka Fitzpatrick had for 50 yards in the game. Dolphins lose, and now their playoff hopes are very slim right now, and they're in a do-or-die game this coming week. Titans, Giants. Giants got blanked out for the first time in since last year when they played the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas Eve. While this is the first shutout victory to the Tennessee Titans since 2000, Christmas Day, over the Dallas Cowboys when they won 31-0. And it all was because of Derrick Henry, 170 yards on the day on a career-high 33 carries. He's had over 400 yards rushing on the ground the last 2 weeks. That's why the Titans are still in the race for both the AFC South and the number 6 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Seahawks, 49ers. Robbie Gould, with about 3:06 to go in overtime, gets the game-winning 36-yard field goal for the 49ers, winning 26-23. And what really was confusing to me was this was a Seahawks team that not even 2 weeks ago trounced the 49ers 43-16, including a 98-yard pick six by Bobby Wagner. And then 2 weeks later, they go into San Francisco and they can't take care of business. The only good thing about the game was Carson tying up the score on a 4th and 1 from the 1. Otherwise, this was just, it was pathetic that, it was just confounding to me. And now their 4-game winning streak was snapped. I'm hoping that they can take care of business this week because they got a tough game against the Chiefs this week. They should have clinched it this week, but now they put themselves in a really bad position. And for the 49ers to win, you're really hurting your draft status. I know it sounds really cynical to say it that way or stupid, but not really. The less wins you have, the better your draft position is. Better you have a chance of making trades with other teams that could get you players that can, change your franchise. Who knows? Cowboys, Colts. All right. The offensive line basically for the Colts parted the Red Sea for Marlon Mack, who had a career-high 139 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, beating the Dallas Cowboys 23-0. The Cowboys in the red zone were terrible in this game. Even on a field goal attempt, Danico Autry on the Colts special team blocked that attempt. Cowboys will have to wait another week to clinch the NFC East, while the Colts, like the Titans, are still in the race for the AFC South and that number 6 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Buccaneers, Ravens. Lamar Jackson has been declared the starter for good, and it looks like Joe Flacco's future is not in doubt anymore.